This show is supported by you. This is Cup of Go for April 24, 2026. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 20 minutes per week. I'm Paweł, I'm a Go developer, and I've been listening to this show for a while.
And I'm Shai, and you're not John. What's going on? Give me my Jonathan back.
I'm not John. Yeah, I was supposed to actually be doing this with John, but I was at a conference, so I couldn't, and I moved to next week, and that's why we are here.
Awesome. Well, welcome on the show. If you watch Frasier, that old sitcom, not a lot of people watch it. So first of all, you should watch it. It's really good.
I know it. I haven't watched it.
Kelsey Grammer is a star, but it's like he's a radio psychologist. A lot of people call him and are like, well, first-time caller, long-time listener. This is basically you. So welcome. We have tons of news to get through, actually. We have a lot of links. But let's start with this new proposal about the build version build flag. I actually don't know what it is, but it sounds exciting. What's up with that?
So there's a proposal to add another build flag into the Go build stack, let's say. And it's about adding a build version for package managers so that they could add a globally defined version into the build. So to say the truth, I'm not really a big fan of this proposal because we already have the build VCS flag.
So it's actually Filippo Valsorda, which we had on the show in the past, the crypto open source person.
I'm Filippo Valsorda. I've been maintaining the Go cryptography standard library since 2018. I've done that first at Google as the lead of the Go security team, and these days I'm doing it as an independent open source maintainer.
Okay, so Filippo Valsorda has proposed to add this build version flag to let the build process that know the version provided to the CMD Go. I am not necessarily a fan of this because I am a proponent of limiting the scope of the Go builder as much as possible.
Like the more flags there are, the more complicated it is to use, is what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. And we have ways to introduce the version inside the Go binaries, and we have done it for a long time. I've been doing Go since 2018, and there are so many ways to do that I don't think we need another one.
So what's the scenario for me even wanting the build version? Why would I want it? Because I just go install from the URL, and if I want the version, I do at and git version. What's the reason of to have this version stamping or whatever? Is it just I don't want the build to be based on the version control system because the tag can move?
Good question. Yeah, that's true. But I'm thinking that if you had a naming convention or a versioning convention that is different from what you have in your repository, then maybe that would work and maybe that would be useful. But to say the truth, I'm not really sure.
Interesting. But the generally there is a freeze coming up pretty soon for 127. It's April, so if we want to get 127 out in August normally, it's going to be tough to get this reviewed in time. So it was actually pinged to hey, let's review this quickly. So if you have any thoughts about making this happen, because this is not a new proposal. This is from 2025, but it's in the active column now. So actually looking at this, if it affects you in any way, using the Go build version or whatever, you should jump on this discussion. Yeah, I'll just say from the side.
Yeah.
anything that will help me manage supply chain security better.
Yeah. Exactly.
I welcome, even if it's more, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's the Mythos release, maybe it's just what's happening, that I feel like in the last month, the number of security vulnerabilities I have from supply chain has like doubled at least. So if I can pin even, package managers to know which version they're building using this build version flag, I would be very happy, even if it makes everything more complicated. All right. I have a short blog post. The blog post itself is honestly not that difficult to understand, but then sort of a discussion. To background that discussion, you said you've been doing Go for a while. And right now, you said you're working, before we started recording, mostly on like backend stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So you are familiar, of course, with the concept of validating input, right?
Yep.
You get a request, like an HTTP request or whatever, and you need to validate it to make sure it's correct. Like it might be a string, but the string might not be in the correct format. And it might be a number, but the number might be too small or too big or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you do like the data validation? Do you use a library? Do you just implement it ad hoc?
Yeah, I usually implement it ad hoc. There was little use for me to have defined interface to do that. Although I heard you don't use generics too much, but I'm starting to use generics more and more. And that would actually work for me to have interfaces being implemented by the types I am using in a generic setting. So this...
I don't know what is it that Jonathan was able to do to my public image as like public enemy number one of generics. It's just I don't use them that much.
Yeah. I can understand. I can completely understand that sometimes it might be that they are not really needed. But I think for mundane tasks and like the ones that we can generalize something around a type and we shove everything inside the same structure that is generic, and we don't have to worry about implementing all of the types. That's quite useful.
So I agree. For validation specifically, there is a pretty nice idea where because it's so simple, you might want to just implement, a little validation code yourself instead of bringing in a heavy library or whatever, which is normally what I do. I use a data transfer language that has validation built in. So let's say I use protobuf, then I'll use PGV, like the proto gen validate thing.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm not using anything too complicated, I do just want to have pretty simple validation. And there is a blog post by Philip Winter here, Validating Data in Go, which is based on a different blog post, Matt Ryer's, on validating data, which is just have a validator interface that has a single function called validate, and it returns a type called problems, which is just a map from a string to a string. And then when you implement that interface, let's say you have a struct in this blog post, it's task create request, right? And it has a few fields. You're like, one of the task fields is like interval or deadline. And you check that the interval is positive and you check that the deadline is positive, and you make sure that the deadline is after the interval, right? Or something like that. And then whenever you fail one of these conditions, you just like, problems.add a problem is required. This is kind of boilerplatey, but honestly, it's very simple to understand. The only thing I don't like about this is the struct and the validation rules are not in the same line like you get with PGV.
Yeah.
But this is very simple. It's a good pattern. It's actionable. You get very easy errors. It's like perfect. The blog post ends with an interesting question that I wanted to bring up with you. Where should you validate? Because theoretically, you can call this validate function at the beginning of every function on all your parameters or something like that. But that obviously doesn't make sense. You don't want to call it at the beginning and end of every function. So assuming, a Go program with a web API, follows like controller service repository pattern. It's something super ubiquitous in the architecture world. Where do you put the validation?
So actually, if I can, I prefer to not create objects that are not valid. So the constructor is usually the place I try to do all my validation. And if for some reason the user input would be modifying this data type, I would prefer to actually create a new one, not mutate the existing one. This has saved me quite a lot of times already, and it fails quickly and very loudly. So
like in the new, that's interesting, because that means that if you read data from the DB, let's say, and you modify it or you create new versions of it, every time you call new, you call validate.
Yeah, basically that's how it would work. So there is little use for me to mutate the objects, and there is a little overhead if I just create a new one. Although with pointers, there is an issue with pointers, of course, because then you'd have to either instantiate everything from the top, and if it is a high frequency, low latency application, that might not work actually.
And also, you don't really know, right? You hold a pointer and then it might get mutated, and you wouldn't know because you hold the address.
Exactly.
So I don't bake it into the like object lifecycle or anything like that. I used to do it in the controller input. Like you get an HTTP request, that's where you validate, and then inside your software you assume that validation is passed for this specific field. This is a string, but if your validation rules say it's a email, you can send it to an API that accepts emails, and because you validated it at some point, you'd say it's okay. And I had a recent discussion about whether to validate outgoing requests as well, not just incoming requests. Because your API says, here's what I'm returning. And there are various tools to validate that. One, or I guess test it. One is Wiretap. We had Dave Shapley on the show.
Hello, everyone. My name is Quobix, and I'm the founder of a company called Princess Beef Heavy Industries, or PB33F. For short, it's shorter when you say it, versus typing out. Anyway.
Yeah, so we had Dave Quobix on the show, and he's working on various API tools that help you do that. But I thought it would make sense to validate on output as well, and maybe not crash the software, but just, put a warning or whatever so you know. But then I got a lot of pushback on that design. People didn't like it. They were like, oh, this is what the function is returning. Why do you need to validate it as well?
Yeah, so I would think that it would be useful in a situation where you have a contract on the API, meaning that you should be very strict and deliberate in what you return. And if there's a chance that this might not be the correct type, or like not a valid output, then to not break your clients for the API, it's better to just check it and verify. But I'm also thinking that we usually, when we create APIs and the outputs are usually based on something very specific, a specific type, and there's usually one way to render that type into a response, let's say JSON. Then I understand the arguments for not doing that on the output.
Yeah, there are a lot of but like there's a lot of argument to be had on both sides, but definitely Philip knows what he's talking about with this very simple interface, I feel. And before you incorporate any library or any framework or any whatever, just start with this design pattern and then see how it goes. Let's do a little bit of meetups. You wanted to share about this community that y'all have over at Poland.
Oh, yeah. So we've got a community in Warsaw called ETH Warsaw, which stands for Energy, Technology, and Hackathons. And actually, it's for Ethereum. It means we have a blockchain-centered community that was created 4 years ago right now. And we started doing a conference and meetups, and this has been really a wild ride, I must say. And we meet from time to time in our new hub, because we also created a hub called Collective 3. Like Web3 is the blockchain stuff, and we have Collective 3, which means that it's connected to blockchain technologies and not trading. Like, we don't do that. Like, we are actually very interested in all the technologies that can be used to improve the systems that we have right now, and blockchain, especially in the era of AI that we are in right now. Blockchains are very well suited to be connected with AI, because the AI agents can do stuff on the blockchains and can be let go and without even human supervision. So yeah, we've got this community meetups and the hub. So anyone in Poland visiting Poland, just come see us, and we've got a Luma calendar where anyone can check what events we are doing. So
yeah, we will have that link in the show notes as well, but it's luma.com/ETH-Warsaw.
Exactly.
Not Eat Warsaw, which is the foodie community.
Oh, yeah, that would be the foodie community.
ETH Warsaw.
Actually, we had very great reviews about the food at our conferences. I myself am a vegetarian, and we had very good vegetarian food. And yes, we sometimes jokingly say it's Eat Warsaw.
Nice. Actually, ever since moving to America, food in meetups has been like either a complete disaster. These like brands that you've heard of living outside of the US, like Papa John's or whatever. I don't want to name any ones that actually suck. So maybe beep the name I just said, Filippo. But like various name that you may have heard of, it's just horrible. And sometimes they get like some local food or whatever, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
But generally, good food in meetups is highly appreciated.
Yes. Of course, what I realized a while ago is that we are not doing a catering meetup. So we want to provide some sustenance, as one would call it. But it's better to have less food, but good quality, than like a lot of junk food.
Same for code, but for some reason, people are still running 20 agents at the same time, churning out slop.
Exactly.
At the topic of meetups, there is a Go meetup in San Francisco as well with the GoSF community that I usually host. This time I won't, because I won't be there. But there are already 30 attendees, so you should really, really sign up. It's hosted by Meter in San Francisco, May 13th. I will not be there, but you can if you ever want to enjoy the meetups without me. All right.
Yeah, so we are in the middle of the show. So let's cut to the ad break, and we'll do the next section here, because it is about middleware. So Jubobs has created a CORS library middleware for Go that is easier to use and harder to misuse than existing alternatives.
Nice. And we'll talk about that right after the ad break. As Paweł mentioned at the top of the show, this show is supported by you, our listeners. This is a hobby. We do it for fun and to learn. I don't know how much you've learned this week, Paweł, but I've certainly learned quite a lot. But it does cost a little bit of money. It takes a little bit of time. So the best way to support us is to hop over to our Patreon and sign up. Just a few bucks a month, and it really shows your support. We have a few new members since we last talked. So we really appreciate all of y'all joining, including Corbin Staben and Akshay Shah. Hey, Akshay, what's up? I didn't know you joined. You didn't have to do that. Thank you. If you want to find that link and also find our Slack channel where Paweł hangs out and you can talk to him because he's like a long time lurker.
Yes, I'm a lurker. Yes.
At the Gopher Slag, hashtag cupogo, kebab case with hyphens, or email us at news@cupogo.dev. Find past episodes, find our swag store. You can find all of that at cupogo.dev. That is our website. Another way to support the show is to help us like spread it out. We recently crossed 200,000 listens.
Whoa, yes.
Which is crazy.
That's great.
It's a crazy number. And we never paid to advertise or anything like that. This show is just like word of mouth, people telling other people about the show. So if you can do that, either by leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast, or telling the show, telling your friends, your coworkers, your co-students, other gophers in your city, other foodies in your city about the podcast, that we would really, really appreciate it. This is such a crazy number that I don't even know how to
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it. It's just a big number, and we like big numbers.
Yeah, it's big. That's what she said.
That's
what she said.
This is a pretty cool month because I was supposed to be on vacation, so we got all these guest co-hosts, Paweł, of course, you, and two other co-hosts that filled in for me in this last month, and it's been really cool to have like a month of what feels like community appreciation or community participation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good, it stands really nicely with the fact that we got to over 200,000 listens just by like people talking about the show. Really cool. So thanks everybody.
It's just organic growth like my food. So I like it.
Yeah. Organic, non-GMO podcast listening.
Exactly.
Farm to table podcast episodes. All right, I want to talk about CORS, so let's get back to that.
All right, so CORS. What is CORS? Cross-origin resource sharing. That's what the definition says. It's mainly about a situation where you need to source data from different domains, and you need to just control the access to that so you don't allow phishing through your website. And we've got a new opinionated, as it says, CORS library, a middleware for Go by Jubobs. And this library is advertised as being hard to misuse, which is actually a good feature of any library in Go or anywhere else, because there's a saying that if something can happen, it will happen. So, and people always find a way to use all of the whole surface of your API. That means if you allow something to go wrong for any reason or by mistake, someone will find a way to use it. Not necessarily on purpose, but it will just happen. So it's actually a good thing that Jubobs is trying to create a library that makes it harder to misuse it.
Yeah, I really like this library. It also comes along with a blog post they wrote, called Fearless CORS. I definitely feel like there's a lot of possible mistakes when you're trying to configure this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And normally, like, it doesn't work for a client, and then someone who's maybe less informed about what it does, let's say your coding agent, is like, oh, let's just add, star as allowed domains.
Yeah, always star.
Basically meaning this is completely useless.
Exactly. Yeah, it's hard.
I don't know.
It's hard to do.
Opinionated. Opinionated libraries are good if they're coming from people whose opinion I respect.
Yeah, that's true. It's always hard with this CORS because it sometimes gets very cumbersome to configure it, and if you have dynamic domains for some reason that change all the time, then you need to do dynamic CORS as well. So yeah, a good thing.
Yeah, so a cool library. It is pretty new, already 200 and whatever stars. I don't know if that's a metric that's worth anything. But definitely next time I need CORS in a web app, that's the library I'm going to reach towards, because it seems very simple to use and with a lot of thought behind it. So but it is important to note, even though it's like opinionated, has a lot of thought behind it, whatever, seems like the most brain dead simple thing to configure ever. You just like new middleware. These are their origins. These are the methods. This is their request headers. Let's go. Like very, very, very simple.
I actually prefer convention over configuration. So if someone has an opinion and I deem it worthy, then I prefer to use that than being able to configure everything, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you have too many dials to...
Yeah, too many foot guns that are possible, especially with security.
Yeah, exactly.
In what will, I think, be the last item of the day, because we've been talking for a while, there is a new blog post from Microsoft announcing TypeScript 7.0 beta. Wait, why am I talking about TypeScript? This is a Go program. What the hell?
Why would you do that to us?
So two things can be true. There are two wolves inside you. You know that one of them is dynamic programming. Anyway, so TypeScript 7 is the new TypeScript like transpiler / compiler. TypeScript, if you've been living under a rock, is a Microsoft language that sits on top of JavaScript. JavaScript is a vulnerability delivery mechanism built into all browsers. Also accidentally helps websites be dynamic and helps us build web apps and whatever. Cynicism aside, I actually think Microsoft pulled something really impossible with TypeScript and made JavaScript actually a relatively elegant language compared to like how horrible it is to start with. And the TypeScript transpiler, the thing that takes TypeScript code and transforms it into a JavaScript code, they call it a compiler. I'm not sure it is a compiler, but whatever, was written in TypeScript, which makes a lot of sense, right? But because it's actually reading a lot of source code and doing a lot of parsing, and it wants to be efficient, running it on JavaScript was pretty problematic. And the new TypeScript 7 implementation, which again, what it does, it takes TypeScript and compiles it to JavaScript, is written in Go.
I love that. I love that for TypeScript. I'm happy for them very much.
Yeah, it's like how anybody who's been working with the Python ecosystem doesn't realize, but almost 100% of their tooling is in Rust now, like UV and Ty and all the linters, whatever. They're actually all implemented in Rust. I think it's a similar sort of situation where it's time to move to a native language. And I tested it. Unlike a lot of blog posts and whatever that we share and like, test it and let us know how it goes. I actually tested it, and I want to share my recipe on how to have like a successful testing time with TypeScript 7. If you have a TypeScript code base like I do in production. So don't change your current flow. This is still beta. I really don't want to put this in production yet. I mean, this blog post is from April 21st. Right now it's April 24th. Like, wait a second. You can wait on the upgrade. I do want to say that yes, the compile times are crazy. They in the blog post they say, it's 10 times faster. I got 18 times faster on my machine. So super significant. It is legitimately going to change my workflow in the sense that, I don't know, if I have a background agent running like a Claude session, I'm going to tell it after every change, run TypeScript compilation. Don't wait until the end and then fix all the errors. Just do it while you're working, like typos or whatever. For a simpler package, it was like only 5 times faster, which is still a lot faster. For the more complicated ones, it's almost 20. And the way I did it in a non-disruptive way is I added a new, which is, by the way, how you're supposed to do like new Go releases checks as well, is I added an concurrent CI check that uses TypeScript 7 instead of TypeScript, like TypeScript 6. That doesn't fail, but does print warnings. And I'm going to have that stick around for a couple of weeks and see if the build fails and the test fails on like the advisory TypeScript 7 approach. And to make that work, I had to set up a new config. So a new TS config at another file. And it actually forced me to fix like a few TypeScript errors where I did like conversions and the new TypeScript version doesn't know how to deal with them. So it wasn't a completely smooth transition, but actually most of the fixes were very, very minor. Like they didn't matter almost at all. It was just like move a variable from here to there, define it a little bit more clearly, because the new compiler has a little less ability to like derive what is a type automatically, like the 6 has. So it forces you to be more explicit, which as far as I'm concerned is like, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Yeah. Sounds great. You're forcing me to, and it is faster. So if you are like me, unfortunately stuck in TypeScript land to make money, you can still inject some Go into your life by upgrading to TypeScript 7. And I highly recommend not upgrading yet because there are some sharp edges. But I do think it's time to put it in your CI. So in 2 or 3 weeks time, the upgrade is like very obvious and everybody already has it on their machine and, you know, in your team and whatever. That's how I'm doing it right now. And I guess in a month, in the episode, end of May, I'll update if it worked or if the migration didn't work. Because right now it's just, an open PR and we'll see how it goes.
But did you know that you can compile TypeScript with TinyGo? You can
I did not.
You can
what
use TinyGo, the latest version 0.41, compile TypeScript into JavaScript. But both teams have worked together. Apparently, it's possible to use TypeScript to use TinyGo to work with this compiler.
If you got to, I don't know, TinyGo is for like embedded or whatever. Why not just write the normal Go? But I understand it. If you have one piece of like TypeScript and you just want to use, somehow compile it into Wasm or whatever, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. So this is just my experience from using TypeScript 7. I've been pleasantly surprised that it just sort of worked. It just required a few configuration changes and a few tiny fixes on a relatively big code base that I'm maintaining. But I wouldn't put it in production yet. Just wait for like a second. That's my review so far.
Would you wait one minor version like someone proposed in Go? They tried to force it on us.
I don't know. It's just so fast. It's really fast. All right. I think that does a show. We've been talking for a while. Paweł, thank you so much for joining and co-hosting with me. If people want to find you like online, other than the Kappa Go Slack channel, where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
That might be an unpopular opinion, but I deleted my LinkedIn a few years ago. But now everyone is around me is trying to force me to like subscribe again, so maybe I will. But you can find me on Twitter. My handle is complicated, so it probably it's better that it's linked in the show notes. It's TEGHNET, which means T L Grey Hot. If someone knows what that is, hit me up. I would be glad to hear from you, even if you don't.
Wait,
TEGH net NET. No hyphens, no anything.
All right, link is in the show notes. Although I'll Twitter is relatively divisive.
Oh yeah, it is. I'll send you. Oh, that's me exactly. Okay, the picture shows exactly why. It's TL Grey Hot. I'm an engineer, and Star Trek. Star Trek is a big part of my life, actually.
Well, I will say I want to cap off the show with "Live long and prosper," but there is a specific way. There is a specific way we cap off the show, which is program exited. Thank you a lot, Paweł, for coming. Goodbye.
Program exited. Goodbye.